Come on in, pull up a chair. There's a story between the verses. Real talk, real faith, life, healing, growth, and grace. You're listening to Between the Verses with Kelli LaVerne.
Hello and welcome to Between the Verses, real talk, real faith with Kelli LaVerne. This is Eavesdrop, where we listen a little closer to the women between the verses. And before we get into it today is the day I told y'all something special was coming, and I am so excited. I've got somebody here with me today, one of my favorite people, Krista Winfield, and I'm excited because I wanted somebody else in the room for this one because these women, they got things to say. And sometimes you need somebody else at the table to go, wait, hold on, right? So welcome, Krista. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Kelly, for inviting me. I already know this is about to turn into a conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, girlfriends and guys, just in case they're listening too, come on in. Let's get into it. So today, we need to talk about Deborah or Deborah. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but we need to talk about her. Now, her story is found in, I'm going to give you the scriptures because I want you to, I always say this after you read this, go back, or after you listen to this, go back and read it again and see if you can pick out some of the things that we're going to talk about here today. So her story can be found in Judges chapters 4 and 5 with key sections. I'm going to give y'all a little cheat sheet. The key sections are Judges chapter 4, verses 1 to 10. Then Judges chapter 4, 11 to 24. And Judges 5, 1 to 31. All right, so that's where you can find the story in the Word. I always encourage you to read it for yourself. I know we've probably heard it, rehearsed it, sang it. Some of us even taught it. But go back and see if God reveals these things to you. So this one, Deborah, this one feels different because she's not introduced like she's trying to become something. She already is. Now, we know we talked about Eve, that was about influence. Sarah, that was about waiting. And Leah, yeah, y'all remember, that was about being overlooked. And I don't know if you remember Rachel, but that was realizing getting what you wanted doesn't always answer everything. But Deborah is about something else. Deborah is about knowing your voice and not apologizing for using it.
Yes, and I already like that because that is different. Most of these women so far, we've talked about waiting, pain, comparison, but Deborah feels different. It feels steady.
Yes, steady. That's the word. That's the word. And she doesn't enter the story trying to convince anybody that she belongs. And honestly, that's the part that makes her stand out. So let me tell you about her. And I love how the Bible introduces her because there's no buildup. It doesn't say, here's how she got ready. Here's how she became qualified. Here's why people accepted her. No, it just says, Deborah, prophetess, wife, judge, done. And I sat with that because most of us think confidence means announcing yourself. Deborah doesn't announce herself. She's already operating.
Yes, but wait, that's actually good because we spend so much time trying to prove ourselves, and she's just already there.
Yes. And don't miss this because She's a judge, and that wasn't a small role. This wasn't courtroom TV, this was leadership. People came to her for direction, for wisdom, for decisions, for clarity. That means before Judges chapter 4, there were probably years that nobody recorded. Years of consistency, years of showing up, years of learning to trust God, which I think matters because we see public moments and forget the private years. We see people once they've, arrived and they're on their platform or they're in the spotlight, but we forget about those private, quiet years when nobody is looking. And the Bible says that she sat under a palm tree and people came to her. And that detail I love because we don't see her campaigning. She wasn't out networking. She wasn't trying to become visible, but people came.
And that's interesting because now we think leadership means louder.
Right. And Deborah reminds us that clarity attracts, trust attracts. She built credibility quietly. And I want to stay here for a minute, because I think people hear Deborah and immediately think, oh, she was bold. But I think before she was bold, she was faithful.
Yes, that changes it because boldness feels
Uh-huh.
impossible. Faithfulness feels doable.
Yes, that's good. Yes, that's good. Write that down. Write that one down. You're very good at taking notes, but I like that. I like that. I gotta say that again. Boldness feels impossible. Faithfulness feels doable. We can all do faithfulness, right? We could all do that.
Yes.
So let's talk about what's happening. Let's talk about the story a little bit. So, like I said, I know we've probably read it, heard it, some of us taught it, but just a little background to make sure everybody's on the same page and catch some people up. So, what's happening here is Israel is under pressure. Things aren't good at all. There's oppression, there's fear, people are feeling stuck, and Deborah hears from God. Now, you know what is as I'm talking about this, it just reminds me of where, we are today. People feel stuck.
Mhm.
There's fear, there's oppression, and we definitely need somebody to hear from God. So
Yeah.
Deborah hears from God and she calls Barak. And I want you to notice, she doesn't ask, what do you think? She says, has the Lord not commanded? That wording, she already knows.
And that's confidence.
Yes, that with trust, because confidence says, I know. Trust says, God said. That's a little different. But Deborah, she isn't making announcements because she feels powerful. She's speaking because she believes she heard correctly. And girlfriends, that's a whole conversation. Because how often do we already know, but keep waiting for 12 confirmations?
Mm-hmm.
We already know, but we just going to keep waiting. Nope, Lord, not yet. This is only confirmation number 10. We waiting for 12. Okay? But here's where this gets a little juicy, because Barak gets the instruction and Deborah tells him exactly what God said. And instead of saying, okay, let's go, he says, I'll go if you go with me.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, you know what? People are hard on Barak, but I actually want to sit with this too, because I don't know if this was fear. I think it might have been something else.
Wait, okay, because I always heard this talk like Barack was scared, Kelly.
Right. Right. And maybe there was a little fear, but I also wonder, Was Deborah somebody whose relationship with God he trusted? Like, you know how there are certain people in your life and you're like, if you say God said that, I trust that.
Oh, wow. That actually changes the way I see it because that doesn't feel weak. That feels human.
Exactly. Like, we have people that, we go to or somebody we may look up to, and if they say God says something, we like on it, on it. So that's why I don't want to oversimplify him because honestly, a lot of us do that.
Yes.
Okay. Like I said before, I'll just talk about me. So when I'm saying we, I'm just really talking about me. Y'all could just follow along. This might not be you, but a lot of people, me, I do this. We know, but we want somebody to come and stand beside us. We know, but we want confirmation. We know, but we want somebody else to walk in first. And Deborah, she says, okay, I'll go with you, but understand something. The victory won't happen the way you think.
Mm-hmm.
And woof, that now see that wasn't punishment, that was consequence because hesitation changes outcomes. Like I didn't even just this is such revelation to me studying out Deborah. And I've studied her and talked about her and sat in on sermons and Sunday school lessons and Bible studies about her. But I never connected this. The reason why the victory wasn't won the way he would have thought or wanted is because hesitation changed the outcome. That's deep. We got to keep that in mind. We hesitate when God tells us something. You might be saying, well, wait, he didn't hesitate, but he did hesitate because he said, I'll go if you go. So that was a hesitation after he got the direct word that came from the Lord. So now this right here, this is my favorite Deborah moment because she could have done what people do. She could have softened herself. She could have minimized it. She could have explained herself smaller, backtrack, but she doesn't. She stays clear.
And okay, say that again because I think people do that all the time.
Right. Like, you know something, you feel something, but somebody questions it, you believe it, but when somebody questions it, you suddenly start shrinking. Deborah didn't shrink. She stayed steady, and I love that because she wasn't loud, she wasn't forceful. She wasn't trying to dominate. And I just want to add a little something here. Ladies, we can be powerful, we can be steady, we could be clear, and we don't have to dominate. There's a way that we can carry ourselves with courage, with grace, with faithfulness, and just speak and not try to dominate. I think that's where a lot of times some people might not want to listen to us. And by those people, I mean our husbands. But anyway, we talking about Deborah, right? Right. All right. We good, Krista? We talking about Deborah, right?
Yes.
Okay. Help me stay on track. Talking about Deborah. She wasn't trying to dominate. She was just clear. She was clear. And there's something powerful about people who don't need permission to stay clear.
And yes, that's actually really good because confidence and loudness aren't the same thing.
Exactly. And I think Deborah knew something. Not everybody moves at the same pace, but you don't stop moving because somebody else is hesitant, right? You don't stop because somebody else is hesitant. Deborah she was on go. She had the word, she gave the word, and she still was on go. So let me bring this a little closer because this isn't just Deborah. I know. I said I was going to talk about me, but I really want people to get this, right? Like lean in, see if you can get this because this is knowing what you should do, but waiting, knowing what you heard, but asking 5 more people.
Mm.
feeling peace, but needing yet another sign. And listen, there's wisdom in counsel. I'm not saying don't ask people, but there's a difference between seeking wisdom and delaying obedience.
Yes, that one sat different because I think people confuse fear with discernment.
Woof, you can say that again. Sometimes we call it waiting on God, and really, we're waiting to feel comfortable. We're waiting to feel comfortable. So we're trying to say, we're being discerning. We're waiting. And it's really fear trying to creep in there. And you know what? That's okay to admit that fear creeped in because we know we could take that fear to God. We could take it to God. Listen, God, I got the word. I want to do it. I want to move forward. I'm a little fearful right now, but I want to be faithful. Because we talked about Deborah. She had to be faithful because her story starts out with people coming to her. So you had to build some credibility. She had to have some clout. She had to be known before we ever get to her story in the Bible. Right? So she had to step out. She had to do what may have felt uncomfortable, but she did it. So Deborah goes. She goes with Barak. Now, Barak, we're talking about Deborah, but just to give you a little kind of help you see the picture a little bit more clearer, Barak is the commander of the army. He's in charge, like he's the military guy. We know that Deborah, prophetess, wife, what else did the Lord judge revealed about her? She was given counsel. So she was established, but she wasn't a warrior. She wasn't in charge of the army. But you know what? She went. And that's where we are now.
Okay.
So Deborah goes, and I love this because she doesn't stay under the palm tree. That's where the Bible tells us she was. She was under the palm tree. I can just see her up there. I don't know if she was holding court, chilling, or whatever, but that's what the Bible says. So she just doesn't stay there. She gets up and she moves. She goes into the thing she spoke about. And I think that matters because leadership isn't go, leadership is come with me. And then the battle unfolds. God moves, things begin shifting, and suddenly the victory starts happening. But not how anybody expected.
Okay, wait. Because this is the wild part, because Deborah said the honor will go to a woman, I immediately assumed Deborah.
Right? Like, I think everybody would. And this is where, like, this, I'm telling you, these women between the verses, this is where we get to the meat of their stories. You would think it would be Deborah. But no, plot twist, Jael enters. And suddenly, the final moment happens through somebody nobody expected. And I love this because it reminds me God's outcomes are bigger than our assumptions. Bigger. And after all of this, Deborah does something beautiful. She sings. She tells the story. She documents the victory. She remembers. I love that because she doesn't say, look what I did. She says, look what God did. And that matters because success has a way of making people forget. But Deborah remembered.
And you know what? That's actually leadership, not needing credit.
Exactly. She wasn't trying to become memorable. She was just trying to be faithful. That's what we talked about earlier. I think you said that, faithfulness is doable.
Hmm.
She was being faithful. So let me tell you what this really is. Let me give you the real tea. Friend to friend, cousin to cousin, girl to girl, okay? Deborah's story is about knowing what God said, trusting your voice, not shrinking, moving anyway, and understanding clarity doesn't always feel comfortable. Because here's the truth. You don't need permission for what God already placed in you. We need to think about that for a moment. That's the truth. You do not need permission for what God already placed in you. Right? Look at Deborah. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't ask. She was already in place. All right, so here's your Monday move. Now, I know some of you might be dropping in or catching this for the first time, but those who have been with us, you know what this Monday move is about, because we're not only hearers, we're doers over here. So we're going to do something with what we just heard, what we just talked about. So your Monday move, ask yourself, where have I been quiet when I already know? Where have I held back? Asked for endless confirmation, waited for the perfect conditions. So where have you been quiet when you already know? You already have the answer. Where have you held back? Where have you asked for endless confirmations or waited for the perfect conditions? And then after you identify that, ask yourself, what would moving look like if clarity was enough? If all you had was clarity and that was enough, what would moving, acting on it, look like? You know, Deborah could have been like, no, I'm not going. You got to go. She could have been like, listen, I gave you the word. It's up to you. But she believed in what God told her so much. Like her trust was in God, that she was going into the battle with him. And as I mentioned, the Bible doesn't tell us that she was a warrior, that she knew how to fight. But one thing I could say Deborah tapped into long before it was written. She knew the weapons of her warfare were not carnal. Amen. What would moving look like if clarity wasn't enough?
Mm-hmm. And maybe ask, what's the smallest step you can take? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we think movement means giant. Sometimes it means send an email, make a call, just say yes.
Yes. Now, see, that's good. That is good. I might have to keep her, y'all. I might have to keep her. What y'all think? That is a really good point, right? The small things, the small steps. It doesn't have to be a giant move. Just send the email, make the call, as she said. Y'all better listen to Krista. She's got wisdom over here, okay? Don't sleep on what she's saying. So if you've been in a season where you know, you feel it, but you've been waiting, let me say this plainly. Clarity may not be your problem. Trust might be. And maybe you already know more than you think you do. Just maybe. All right, I'm going to leave that right there because Deborah's story, it doesn't just inspire. It asks a question. What would happen if you trusted what God already showed you? Thank you for joining us today, and thank you to my guest, Krista. I hope this isn't your last time that you will be with us. I look forward to you coming back. It was nice having somebody, to bounce this off of and to share input. I appreciate, what you've shared with us today. Everybody, give Krista a shout out in the comments, if you will. Hopefully she'll come back. So remember, everybody, subscribe, share, and be sure that you come back. And we'll meet you back here the next time between the verses. Real talk, real faith with Kelli LaVerne. From Sunday to Monday and the rest of the week too. Thank you. Until next time.
Before you go, don't forget, subscribe, like, and share. And join the conversation. Search Facebook for Between the Verses Podcast Community. Until next time, keep growing, keep believing, and keep walking by faith between the verses with Kelli LaVerne.